Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about the move to France. So we've already done a sit down video talking about why they moved to France and kind of how they got into farming and the whole background story to it. But they've never actually explained how the move went. And I was 8, so I couldn't remember the half of it and I wasn't there for a lot of it. So I'm going to ask you a load of questions because there's some stuff that I don't actually know about the move. So I guess, when was the first time you actually thought about moving? Like, when did the idea pop into your head?
Well, it popped into his head first.
Yeah.
Where?
Well, it was in it a few years. I suppose when we used to come out here in holidays. And thought it was a lovely country, and we used to come here every year. And then we looked into it, found out the price of land.
But when did you have the first conversation between you about should we move to France?
About a year before we came. That'd be 2005.
Yeah, 2005.
And
We started thinking
property
about it.
was booming in Ireland, and the opportunity was there, so it was either take it or, you know, we'd never get that opportunity again. Now, you might get it now because I hear prices are expensive again in Ireland, but you just wouldn't get to sell a house in 9 acres for a big farm with cattle and all over here.
And so when did you decide exactly we're going to move? Because you told us before viewing farms. And he said we're moving and we thought it was a joke.
Well, we kind of looked, we looked up the internet and we found George Libri in Eurofarms, looked at a few farms, and we contacted him to organise a visit to come over and look at a few farms before we, help us make up our minds.
Yeah.
So when you told us you hadn't actually fully decided.
We were only thinking about it.
Well, we hadn't sold, so it all depended.
Yeah, we hadn't found a farm. We had to wait and see could we find a farm, and then could we sell it and afford a farm. So
That's right, yeah. We had to see what we thought of the farms, what was an offer. Some of them were disappointing and some of them were great. Then we had to see if we sold and would we have enough money.
Okay. So what was the first step? You looked on the internet for the farms and then contacted George. Organised a visit out with him. We came out in May 2006 and I think it was only three or 4 days. We met him and he brought us around, I think it was about 6 different farms. So how did that go?
Oh, frantic. They were trying to remember everything. There was so much to take in and so many farms, and we were taking notes as we were going along, and some we knew straight away, right, that's not what we're looking for, and others then. So
what kind of farms did you see? Was it all beef farms or?
The first farm we seen when we came with George, we were told there was 2 houses, a studio. I didn't know what a studio was, but it's a flat over the house above in the loft.
One room.
A 1 room. I thought there was going to be a band up there. We were told all these things. The second house, you'd have to look for it in the bushes. There was a fine shed on it.
That was about the best part of it.
Yeah, there was one brand new shed, but the rest of it was just fitting up.
Yeah.
And the land
was wet.
It was wet, I thought, yeah. It wasn't in this region at all.
Where was it?
Deceased.
Yeah, over near Switzerland, over that direction. Wouldn't be far from it. The second farm then was off up in a mountain somewhere.
I don't even know where that was.
Yeah, and I don't ever want to say it again.
We knew when we pulled up at the gate.
It was all in a little hamlet, and everyone was all connected.
Right,
the house was a disaster. There was only 1 room. The toilet, kitchen, living room, bedroom was all 1 room. So you had to go on there.
It was dark.
And up in the loft, over the kitchen and all then, it was kind of a big square house. Up over the loft end, they used to store the corn. Say on the second floor, and they said that kept the house warm for the winter. And it dried the corn. And you nearly broke your neck coming down the stairs.
I know. Somebody rang me from Ireland and I was picking my steps. And then nearly fell down.
The third farm then was
The Belgian Blue Farm.
Belgian Blue Farm. Actually, an Irish guy bought that. Michael McEnany in Monaghan.
Mm-hmm.
He bought that. It was a lovely farm. It was a bit too expensive for us. But,
going through it.
and the Belgian Blues as well. I
It
wasn't
was
too
a
fond
lot.
of.
They were all cesarean sections.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then this was the fourth farm.
Yep.
Yeah, I was right.
I was, wasn't I?
This is the fourth farm, and then we seen another farm. This was Charlie, then the Charlie farm. They were just after putting up that big timber shed there, and while the farmer here was getting out, his son was back, and I don't think we were told he hadn't great health or something.
Well, he wanted out anyway.
Yeah, and it was he got out because the son was after putting up that big timber shed, and then we were told he got bad health or something. Then we looked at another farm, the far side of Limousin, about an hour and a half from here, and that was very fragmented or scattered or whatever. And
But had a lovely house.
the house was lovely. You wanted to move there. But I couldn't see it. It was very hard to even picture how you'd even get around to
Managing cattle.
managing it. Then we looked at another farm, and
It was a sheep farm.
sheep farm, yeah.
Yeah.
Sheep, and there was 30 blonde equidine cows.
Was it, yeah?
And there was a new house on it. But I actually liked that farm, but we thought you could change. That time the sucklers and the sheep quotas and all. So I thought we could just sell the sheep and switch over to cattle. But you can't. At the time you couldn't do that. So that knocked that in the head. And well, I had liked this place anyways. This place was still in the back of my head, and so we never. Oh, when we came back the first time or the second time, we looked at another farm over the road there, a Limousin farm. But the house was very small, and you know you couldn't. I couldn't even see how you'd extend it or do what with
It was a death trap, I thought.
Yeah.
All the windows upstairs, there was only one way out, and didn't like
Yeah.
it. Didn't.
It was a nice tidy little house, but it was just so small and crammy, and there was no sheds. All the cattle were fed outside, so you had an awful start to do it. So, and both of us didn't like it. The only thing that Emily didn't like about here was the house.
House, yeah.
Yeah, but the land was good here, and it was in one block, and there was good Charlie cows on it, and you preferred the Charlie then?
Yeah.
Because the Limousins back in Ireland were nutcases.
They were a lot calmer.
And
How many cows were here?
there was 70 cows, I think. Yeah, 70 cows, 14 in-calf heifers. All the calves, that would be the weanlings. And there was 50 two-year-old heifers.
There was a couple of stock bulls.
And the stock bulls. Now, he had sold off some cattle because he was winding down a bit. So, but the cows were here, and then we had to start calving. That's our first calf there, on the picture up there.
I don't know if you can see it.
We had our first calf in January.
Somewhere over there, over man.
Actually, there was an Irish guy here at the same time. He was came over looking for farms, and he called here. And yeah, the first year calving was hard because it was very cold, and that's why I made the heated box. And what else?
And I suppose all the cattle were tied in, and we were just.
And the Charlie then were a hard calvers, you know, then the Limousin, and I had cesareans, which I'd never seen a cesarean done before.
And one of the first few weeks we were here, well, it must have been after they calved, that you took off all the horns.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
We took off the horns, and the vit, rang up the vit. The way everything is done in Ireland, you get the vit to do it. So I rang up the vet, and she came out, and we said, well, take off the horns. And she said, no, we don't do that. The farmers do it themselves. And then she said you get this wire to cut off the horns, but to just cut through it like butter, she said. I did nothing for 2 days after. I took off 36 that day, I think.
We had them in a kind of a mobile crush set up in the pen.
And trying to cut these. Now these were off heifers that was over 2 years old and cows that was 10, because the cutting locked their heads in and the locking barriers. So we took all them off. And then I found a lad, an English guy, had this thing for cutting off the horn, so I copied his and made one, because I think at the time there were 700. So we have that now with the horns, and it works well. There's a video back along. If you search through them all, you'll find it.
And then when the buyers used to come, they used to start dealing in francs.
Yeah.
And everything here was euros, but they were still on francs and giving us prices in francs.
Changed 2001.
Francs had changed a few years before that, but they were still
I think it was
talking francs.
2001.
And I knew the one when I drove in the road that I liked it, but Emily didn't like the house. So
It was nice. It was all practically in one block. It was well in off the road, so it was safe for dogs and everything else.
And kids.
The house and kids. The house was livable, but needed a lot of doing up.
Just barely.
And that's what we'd said. We wanted a house that we had. The three of you were small at the time, and that we wanted a house that was livable at least. And
so what sold you on this place? It was the land.
the whole
lot, the location.
the whole lot,
yeah.
Just
nice.
liked it. I liked where it was. We were near a big town. Even though you were in off the road, you were still close to everything. We wanted to be in off the road, and we wanted most of the land in one block. And there was, we walked into a business really. There was cattle and all here.
So you decided on this farm, and then what was the first step? You put in an offer.
No, God, we couldn't put in an offer. We didn't have the money.
Well,
We had to go back and see.
no.
I know, I'm watching too much TV.
We told them we were interested, and subject to selling our own and getting rid of what we had back in Ireland, would be interested in it. So the day after I came back from being in France looking at the farms, I rang up the auctioneer and told him to put it on the market. That was the next day after flying back from France, and there was fairly good interest, and we got on very well. But like I said, it was the Celtic Tiger that time, and land was very good. We only had 9 acres, but the house was well done up in that, so it was easy enough to sell it. Whether I think not long after we sold property, went into a recession in Ireland, so we were lucky, and that's it. I've no regrets home.
Yeah, we sold that, and then once we knew that was going to be sold, we organised selling the cattle, selling the machinery, and putting together as much money as we could.
And so, when exactly did you tell people we're moving to France? Because I know it was a secret for a while. That
2 weeks before we came.
we
weren't
came
allowed.
over. We saw the farm in May, and then we came over in July with Ian holidays to show ye the farm and the area, and
And
we
no one knew.
stayed in the campsite near here.
Because I remember just don't tell anyone. Everyone in school asking
Where,
their parents, asking them to ask us.
well, we didn't
know ourselves.
We wouldn't know
Because the whole
ourselves.
lot could be
Could have fallen through.
and you have enough of hassle. It's a big thing to move, and you have enough of hassle without everyone asking you heavy questions, and maybe they might put doubts in your head as well. So you want to just keep your head clear, and that's the way we do it.
So, when you got everything set up to buy, how did that go? How long did it take? Was it good system over here, do you think? Easy or?
It wasn't.
I suppose ignorance is bliss. You didn't know, you just got on with it.
Yeah.
You're kind of looking back
We
and you
had
think,
sold everything in Ireland, so we just had to jump in and give it our best shot. And
organise all the transport, getting everything sold, organising. Well, I handed in my notice in work, and
I was the same.
Yeah, and so
I worked nearly right up to the last.
It's the last day, last week.
So then we came over here, it was Halloween.
It was Halloween when we moved in.
It was Halloween the night we moved in, yeah.
So it went pretty quick from May viewing the first farm
to October, yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, we
And,
were planning on bringing 2 cows and the pony. Well, William had a pony. 2 ponies at the
One at the time.
One at the time.
One pony, yeah.
She was in 4.
And she was in 4. So then there was a bit of hassle. Our furniture and all was over here. We were sleeping in our own house on the floor for a week on sleeping bags. And because it was really stormy weather and the boats weren't moving cattle, so we had to wait a week. And then when we did wait another week, the people wanted to get to our house. So we ended up having to sell the 2 cows that we were going to bring. And we left the pony with a fella that we knew that we might organise the transport again. So we came without everything. Without the animals, just we brought the dogs, that's all.
And then the pony had the foal over in Ireland.
Yeah.
And he came back then
and he actually put her back in foal again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we had 3 ponies.
It was Johnny Dermody.
Yeah.
Down in Mealy, yeah.
So then one of them foals was sold over here, and we still have the first foal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah, he's still there. So I know you brought the 7740 and the 4630, but what else was brought over from Ireland and the Lucas?
Well, we brought a full low loader of machinery and it was well packed. There was a silage wagon, a Pottinger silage wagon.
Oh yeah.
The Lucas chopper, I actually bought that. It was made in France. I bought it off WBD Farm Machinery in Drogheda. And well, there was the 46 and the 77, and then there was the roller. That was it.
The contents of your workshop.
Yeah. Well, the workshop I brought over in the Ivor Williams trailer when we had to come over to do a signing in August, September, was it?
I can't remember.
Yeah, whenever. We had to come over that time to sign the first signing. So we said we're here with. It was nearly as cheap or easy come over with the on the ferry. So we said we'd come over with had all the workshop, everything. There was nearly 4 ton in the Ivor Williams trailer. So we came over and did the signing, and we left the trailer and all here. I had it designed that everything was locked on the trailer, and we left the Ivor Williams trailer here because the second when we came back in for the final time, we brought the Murphy trailer and the dogs. Now we had, like I said, we had to bring the cows, but that didn't work out. And lucky enough, a woman in Lochray bought the 2 cows. There was a Jersey and a Limousin. So that was it.
So 2 tractors. So what tractors were on the farm? Because they weren't all Fords.
No, here
There was no Fords there.
there was an International. What number was it? A
523.
523. There was a McCormick 110 maximum, I think. And there was a K-Star. I forget what size that was. Yeah. A K-Star compact, that's what it was.
And the Manitou.
So we changed K-Star for the TL, and we sold McCormick for the TM.
They're still here.
And we saw the International.
And the International went a few years after because we used to use that for the chopping of the wood and that.
You did that up.
And turning hay. So we when we got to David Brown, we sold that. But it wasn't a very nice tractor.
Right. So when you landed in keys in hand, like I remember going to school, but what was the first jobs that had to be done on the farm? Like where did you start?
Well,
ploughing.
Yeah, we landed here, and there was still a signing to be done. So we were coming here on a Tuesday or Monday.
We came.
That was Monday.
We stayed.
No, we didn't sign till Tuesday.
I don't know what
I
day.
know.
So we came on the Monday, and then we had to do all that signing, and actually we were in the notaire, which is the solicitor of all the legal things, till 10 o'clock at night. And then we hadn't been in the house because we'd probably be the same. You're just not let in till everything is done and dusted. And when we came back here at 10 o'clock at night, came into the house, and there wasn't even lights. They took the light bulbs and everything. So all we had was a torch. We had nothing set up, beds or nothing, because everything was just left in here out of the container. And we had to sleep on the floor again.
Halloween night.
Yeah.
So the first job
So
was,
the first big job then the next morning was changing plugs. Everything over here is 2 pen, and everything that was on our appliances was 3. So I was fed up changing plugs.
We bought, I don't know, was it about 30, 40 plugs?
Yeah.
2-pin plugs to change everything.
So that was the first job that morning, even to get the kettle boiled, was to change the plug. Then your man was to have the cordon sewed, and he hadn't. So I had to get the plough. There was a 3-scrape reversible plough on the farm, and I never ploughed or anything ever. And then we were looking for grease. Everything was all packed in the trailer, and we just now this was November, wasn't it?
Yeah, started November.
It was getting late for sewing cordon, so I said, here we'll get a couple of tubes of grease somewhere, and besides rooting out the whole trailer of stuff, because I didn't rightly know where the grease was in the trailer. So we went into every sort of a shop looking for grease. They all thought we were a real bunch of I don't know what.
We went into the local tobacco because they'd a filling station outside. We thought.
Anywhere there was a petrol pump, we thought there'd be a tube of grease, but they were probably saying we're not going to last too long.
We eventually found it. Finding out where things were, it takes a while.
How'd you go about knowing what shop was what?
Driving in and looking.
Pure taking stupidness.
And so how was the language? How did you get over it, say the first couple of weeks? It's bad enough getting used to new place.
George Libbury was nearly here every second day for the first 2 or 3 weeks.
He did a lot of the translating for us. Any formal stuff. He actually even organised getting the electricity switched over to our name, getting the phones in, getting ye into schools.
I remember that.
Yeah, he came with us to the school and got ye into the schools. And any problems we had like that we could just ring him up and he'd sort it out. So other than that, then it was down to Google Translate.
Did you have Google Translate back then?
We didn't actually. It was internet and YouTube, and no, it wasn't actually YouTube. It was internet and Google and stuff like that. Yeah. And diagrams and hand signals and.
Yeah. George as well. He had meetings. He brought all the neighbours here one day to have to introduce them and the whole lot, which was good as well.
Yeah. Anybody that we were joined with in the Kuma and had machinery shared with and stuff like that.
So, November, the cows weren't in. What were the seasons like?
This was lovely weather. They were actually the sun coming down. They were making silage up near Poitiers.
Actually, yeah, we stopped.
It was pouring rain when we leaving Ireland, and it was lovely weather here.
We met Alofahi, another Irish guy, and their family up near Poitiers. We stayed with them the first night on the way down. They were halfway between, and we met them at the zoo.
We were paying for it since.
And we met them outside the zoo, and it was lovely sunny weather, and they were all out having a picnic.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
we saw the snakes in the zoo.
Having picnics and that, yeah.
But what's the difference in seasons? Seasons aren't the same here as they are in Ireland.
It's just the weather is better. It's less rain here.
Well, that first year was very, very cold.
Yeah, we were like Eskimos here.
I remember snow up to me.
In February.
In
February there was...
the silage pit out there, they were covered with sand and gravel, and you needed a hack to open it because it was frozen solid. So now we use tires and sandbags.
And that shed that's your workshop now in the milking parlour, that was a shed for tying in cattle.
Yeah.
And we tied in cattle.
70 cattle tied in there as well.
Tied in.
And the big thing that goes around the back and dumps
It took
clean
2
out the
days
shit.
to tie them in.
Yeah.
So I had to bring all the cows in.
Well, there was heifers and cows. The first job we had to do when we came, there had to be a blood test to get the cattle into our name, and there was no cattle crush. No, there was some locking barriers, but then there was hardens in all the cattle, big long hardens, and so the cattle were all fairly quiet because they were all used to being tied in at some stage of their life, so they were quiet. Because I remember there was 50 cattle in the shed we called the bull shed now, with big long hardens, and we were going down there to test them with a rope. Lucky enough, my job was only to mark them with the crayon to say they were done, but
actually the guy that owned the farm before us, he came and gave us a hand to all the blood tests.
He'd know the cows.
Yeah. So that was it, and did the ploughing, and the first day I went ploughing, after getting it all set up, and I thought it was great. I had about quarter of the field done, and next thing when I came back up the field, I was wondering where the whole place was flooded. I said, where the hell is the water? And I had drove over a manhole cover in the ditch, because I used to drive up to the ditch and turn the plough, and I didn't see there was a manhole there, and when the tractor went over, it drove down the manhole and burst this big 4-inch pipe. It was the water to the next village that was going through the farm, and it was down a good bit. So the water crowd had to come, and they were there till 1 o'clock in the morning.
We had to ring George to ring the
ring
water.
George Livery, because we didn't know who to ring.
To ring the
and
water.
he was in England, and he had to ring EDF.
The water. No, the SIIP, whatever that. Yeah, the water crowd.
He had to ring them, and they had to come out with a mini digger at that night and
repair it,
change it all, and turn off the water to the villages and everything. So it was about nearly 2 o'clock in the morning before it was all finished.
And then he sorted out that it was all covered by the insurance.
Yeah.
Farm insurance covered the cost of
Lucky
getting them
enough,
out.
yeah. If not, we would have had to pay for it. But
everyone in the town was cursing you then.
yeah.
They knew we'd arrived.
What an entrance. So you have the 4 seasons over here. You have.
Yeah.
Like
well,
has the
summer
weather
is long. Summer is
has the
longer in
weather
Ireland.
changed compared to when?
It's gotten a lot
yeah,
milder.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
gotten a lot
I
milder.
know the winters aren't as cold.
The
The
winters are a
winters
lot
now are
milder.
very mild.
Alright, so what's the...
And weather-wise, every year is different. Some years is a drought, other years is rain. So it's
Now, if we get a couple of wet days here, we're
given out.
miserable.
So you said in the last time we did a sit-down video that if someone was to ask in the first 2 years if you'd move back, you said you would because they were
We
tough.
said we might.
Well, yeah.
We think about it. As well as that.
We had nowhere to go.
But like, what was so tough other than the language?
Getting used to being together the whole time as well.
Yeah,
Because in Ireland,
weren't used to working together.
we weren't used to working together. We both worked separate and met in the evenings and the weekends. And just having to go. And then anywhere we went, we both had to go because to try and explain.
You knew.
He knew
the
what he
cars.
wanted. I had a bit of French. And between signals and pointing to things, and we got by.
Well,
got easier.
yeah, I'd have to say, only for Emily, we probably wouldn't have.
Well, the language.
I would know how to do the work and all like that, but it's all the other bits and pieces I would have been lost at. So a bit of brains is no harm now and again.
And so what's, other than farming, what are the differences in the lifestyle over here, say, compared to Ireland? For example, cost of living.
Cost of living, I think, is a little bit more expensive. Some things, it depends. Healthcare is cheaper. Schools are way cheaper. I mean,
Schools are practically
schools
free.
are very, very cheap, yeah.
The
Groceries and things would be a
The
bit more
health, I
expensive.
think, the health system over here is, I think, the best in the world. I think I was watching a program there.
Yeah. Visit to the doctor is now it's €25, and you get 70% back with your standard PSI, your social insurance, and if you have a top-up insurance, you get it all back. So, yeah, it's good. And the hospital costs aren't that expensive either. So, yeah, no, that's good.
So what else, like food-wise?
Food-wise, I would find it more expensive food-wise.
I don't think so now.
Who does the shopping?
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how did you adapt to the food? Because it is different over here.
By degrees we found things. We
At
had
the
to.
beginning, people were sending over butter and chocolate and crisps.
We found the butter, the demi-sel.
Yeah.
I remember looking for bacon one day, but what I got was this stuff that they kind of dry with salt, and it was
that
as
stuff.
Yeah.
salty. You could boil it and boil it and
We
boil
were
it.
drinking gallons of
That's
water
not the
for
stuff
2
you're
days.
supposed to eat raw.
Yeah. The stuff you're supposed to slice thin. I cooked it.
No, we just now we just use all the French. We've adapted to all the French food.
The milk is UHT. It's
Long
treated, long life, comes in cartons. You can store it in the press. Doesn't have to be in
Yeah,
a
a lot of
fridge.
people notice that when they come over. They don't find the milk in the fridge.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
once you open it.
You don't have to be embalmed when you die.
Things like that. And then we started meeting a few other Irish people as well and English people around, and they would help and they would tell us where to go for things as well. And
Actually,
that was a good help.
the year we moved, I think 5 or 6 families moved from Ireland around the same time.
So we were all in the same boat and all finding things and passing
Yeah.
on information to one another. Yeah.
So is there many Irish around now? It's only a few.
No.
Around us, no.
No.
There's still a few in France, but there's
There's a lad that works with me there now and again, Paul, but he's retired, but he's not a farmer.
You just have to
he's Irish.
but-
He only lives up the road. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what's the biggest thing that shocked you about France that you didn't expect coming?
For him, snakes.
Yeah.
And for you?
For me, I think the language. I expected it more. I expected to be able to communicate more. It's a lack of communication.
Thought
and,
you'd pick it up faster.
Thought I'd pick it up faster. Thought they'd have more English, but we got by. Social life is a hell of a lot different. There's no such thing as going down to the pub in the evening,
Oh, we
having a
didn't
few
do that
drinks.
anyways.
I know, yeah. But
Yeah.
if you wanted
So
to, you
like
couldn't.
me,
If you wanted to, you
mind.
couldn't. Yeah, yeah. Or people that come over.
yeah.
There isn't.
Yeah, I think if you're if you're in Ireland, if you're big into sport or you're big into things, going to matches and all like that,
Yeah.
you would miss that. But we weren't into that, so that was a help as well. But yeah, you know, if you're at home farming, like you couldn't be going here and there 10 times a year. You know, leaving here to look at matches and that. So.
Social life is very much to just meet up with friends and
Yeah.
barbecues, go to their house for dinner.
Yeah, it's always
They come
kind
here
of
for dinner.
at
It's
their
more.
house.
It's more about eating and drinking and at home or in the houses.
Now the French neighbours are very helpful, and
Yeah.
I find them very straight,
Yeah.
and I've never had an issue behind them since they came.
Yeah.
And you know, I can't fault behind them.
What about time difference? It's an hour ahead, but
Yeah,
2 hours in the afternoon.
unless
That
you're
was a shock.
watching
No, but
an English
No,
channel.
the closing times.
Oh yeah, the
closing.
12 o'clock in the day is a real.
They close from 12 to 2.
every day.
Absolutely everything was closing from 12 to 2 at the beginning. Now there's some shops that might be open, but basically hardware and garages and things are all closed from 12 o'clock to 2.
And on
And
Sundays,
Sunday here, you
No,
wouldn't
most
get a
time.
restaurant or anything open.
you get a couple in big cities, but that's it.
Yeah. Sundays very few restaurants open.
But that's because
And then sometimes
Sunday,
that carries over to Monday as well. Monday
Yeah.
a lot of.
Yeah.
That's because a lot of the time Sundays everyone
Family
goes
day.
to family and it's family dinner.
Yeah.
That's really it. For anyone
They're
coming
big
over,
into they're big into outdoor sports and things as well, but they're kind of you pick a sport and you go with that. You're either into cycling or you're into soccer or you're into skiing. They don't kind of mix and
they
match.
have a lot more variation.
Variety,
I suppose.
yeah, yeah.
Like when you're in school, you learn a lot of different sports.
Yeah.
Rather than say GAA at home.
Yeah.
And so for anyone moving over, because we have had quite a few people asking about moving over, what would be things to know?
Well, if you're coming over to farm, I think it's a great country to farm. There's great opportunities. We went from strength to strength there, and it was easier to do it. You wouldn't do it in most countries. like the weather and all is good for farming. The only other thing I'd say, well,
I would suggest using an agent. It's very hard to do it on your
Yeah.
own unless you have very good French.
yeah,
because
some lads want to come on their own, and it's just
you pay for
hard
it,
to
but
do it.
But they put you in touch with all the right people, say the banks and the SAFER, whoever's buying it, and the Chamber of Agriculture are very helpful actually.
Mm.
They'd be a bit like Teagasc in Ireland, where they help out and steer you in what way to go.
Yeah, well, you'd want to go and have a good look and think about it, because it's such a big move. You know, especially if for us, maybe we had only a small bit of land. But if you had a big farm or a fairly big farm and you were thinking on changing over here for some reason, I don't know, it mightn't be the best decision. But if you want to get on the property ladder, like, there's great opportunities here, even to rent land now for a young farmer. He can get on, or there's partnerships there with other farmers as well. Now the language would be the problem, but there's lads that's coming and doing it, and it's working. So
Each to their own. It suits some people, it doesn't suit others. So.
you know, to get on the property ladder now in Ireland is, you know, crazy, or in England as well. I don't know about America, but over here it's all geared up for the farmer, and young farmers, they get first preference. So if we were selling this farm in the morning, we wouldn't make a big killing. We'd get on okay with it, but
You don't buy land to
it's not a big investment.
hang on to it
You
and sell
buy
it for a
live
fortune.
and
Yeah.
work it.
Yes, that's the SAFER. All land in France is controlled by.
the price of land.
What
is
is the
controlled.
SAFER in
Now it
English?
has gone up since we bought it.
There isn't an English version.
They
you can
basically
get
try to keep down the land. So if you buy it within the first 10 years, they have to control the
Mm.
price or something. You
Yeah.
can't just sell it on after 5 years or whatever.
Well, if there's a young farmer in the area, he gets first preference. Now, if you have no one else then and you want to sell it, he'll get it. But if you have someone then that puts in an offer, now they'll tell you roughly what the farm is worth, and that's it. There's no one that'll come in and with a heap of money and bid
And
up
it has
the
to be
price.
approved by different committees.
Yeah.
Mm.
So buying a farm is not a bidding war. It's just you have to be.
Patient.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get at the farm, and if you're finished farming, you know, someone else can do it, but there's no big investors or, you know,
And
lads,
so
it's not-
to buy a farm, say if you're getting a loan, isn't it what 45% or something that you have to? Is that right?
That you have to buy.
Someone was telling me this the other day that if you wanted to get a loan to buy a farm, that you have to have something like a 5-year plan, and you have to have 45% of the value in money and assets to get the loan.
I don't know, but
I don't know, but I know the bank does. If you're getting a loan, the bank will want you to do a 5-year plan. Chamber of Agriculture will help you with that and charge you for that.
now,
But
as well as that, the SAFER is like the government body, so they're actually buying the land now as well
sometimes.
for young farmers, and they'll set it to them for 3 years or 7 years, up to 7 years, till they get on their feet.
Give them the option then of buying.
And then they have the option of buying it off the SAFER. And if they do go to buy it off the SAFER, their rent is taken into account, isn't it?
what they've paid to
what
date.
they've paid will be taken off it, which is, I think, a great setup for a young farmer. And it's there for the, you know,
Yeah, I don't know of anybody that's actually done that, but they've
the SAFER was
been telling us about
it.
it. Yeah, they've been telling us about it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's all my questions really. I mean, I have lived through the rest of it, so
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
most. But if anyone has
It's
any
not
questions,
all, just not all sunshine and roses. It's
Yeah.
farming. You have to farm. You have to work, and it's just a different lifestyle, different language, and
there's no family around.
yeah, that's unfortunate. But I mean,
I'll go back.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anyone
can
has
come out
any
to visit.
questions, you can leave down in the comments. We'll either get back to you or maybe do a questions and answer video again, depending on how many we have. And I hope that answered questions for anybody who's looking to come over. But that's basically how it went down for us.
we
Yeah.
wouldn't claim to be experts on everything. I mean, we just know
No.
what worked for us, and that's
That's it. Okay.
Oh, what?
Thanks for watching.
Okay.
see you on the next one.